Hi, it's Rabbi Andy from Temple Emmanuel in Greensboro, North Carolina. It's been a couple of weeks. Took some time off this summer. I hope that you've had a chance to recharge a little bit yourself. But just getting back to work here at Temple, and what a blessing it is to come home to the Temple family. And the message that I want to share as we head into this Shabbat. We're towards the end of the month of July, but we're also towards the end of the Hebrew month of Tammuz, and in fact, this Shabbat is the beginning of the Hebrew month of Av. Now, for some of us, that may just sound like familiar from a little bit of knowledge of the Hebrew calendar. But as we get towards the end of the month of Tammuz, around this time every summer, and head into the month of Av, on the peoplehood level, this is a very challenging time for us as Jewish people. The history from this time, if we go back a couple of thousands of years, was a time of destruction. And so we mark that every year. This is a very sensitive time for us, and where our feelings are really, just kind of, we're emotionally pulled. And maybe you're feeling some of that own emotional pulling for other reasons, but on the Jewish calendar, on our people's calendar, we feel that emotional pull because it was roughly 2,600 years ago that the Babylonians destroyed the temple in Jerusalem right around this time. And then hundreds of years later, in the year 70 of the, since zero, roughly 2,000 years ago, the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and destroyed the temple in Jerusalem and exiled us right around the same time, both happening on the 9th day of Av. On the calendar, it's known as Tisha B'Av. So that's kind of like the history lesson and maybe the emotional lesson. But I've got something else that I want to bring to this as we're during this period right now known as the 3 weeks, taking us from the end of Tammuz up to the 9th day of Av. And that goes something like this, because our sages, instead of blaming the Babylonians or blaming the Romans, said, look, we ourselves have to do some examination, and it's because of causeless hatred that these terrible things happen to us. And maybe that's a lesson for society around us. But I've been thinking about this before, for a long time now, that there are a lot of people that will define themselves as being anti this or anti that. And I'm not sure that I've ever done that in my life. I know I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. I don't say like I'm an anti and whatever, pick your favorite other National League team, or I can't imagine showing up to a game instead of wearing Cincinnati gear, but wearing the gear that like belittles my opponent. And again, those things I think play out in our own lives also. Being anti this or anti that. And maybe you're like, well, Rabbi, you're being a little bit too soft on things. I mean, if I were to push you, you would tell me. And, we could say, in all honesty, maybe that's the case also. But during this period in particular, maybe we have to train ourselves, instead of defining ourselves as being anti something, what are the things that we're for? What are the things that we're for? I'll tell you, I'm for Jewish study. I'm for being supportive of the Jewish people. I'm for a meaningful connection with the people in the state of Israel in all of its diversity and with all of its beauty as well as all of its challenges. I'm for a world that's filled with more peace and understanding. I'm for the American people and for people around the world. Maybe you want to think about what it is that you're for, and how does that help us to expand our world, to make it a better place. So let's bring that into Shabbat with us, and hopefully this will be a time filled with peace and goodness and blessing. And if someone needs a little extra hug, this may be the time to give it to them. Of course, ask for their permission first, but a little Shabbat hug, a little bit of a way to make our world a better place. What is it that we support? And how can we be for the betterment of our world? Shabbat Shalom.